Marcus jolted awake at the soft hiss of his chamber door sliding open. The dim emergency lighting cast long shadows across his cramped quarters aboard the research vessel Meridian, but the silhouette in his doorway was unmistakably humanoid, and definitely not crew. She stood barely 5 feet tall, her pale blue skin shimmering with an opalescent quality that seemed to shift with each subtle movement. Elongated limbs ended in delicate, 4-fingered hands, and her large, dark eyes reflected the corridor's amber glow like pools of liquid mercury. Most striking were the intricate patterns of bioluminescent dots that traced along her temples and down her neck, pulsing gently in what Marcus recognized as the Kepler 442b atmospheric rhythm. "Can I sleep beside you tonight, human?" Her voice carried a melodic quality, though the universal translator embedded in his neural implant gave it an oddly formal tone. Marcus sat up slowly, his xenobiology training kicking in despite the surreal situation. 3 months ago, first contact with the Velfani had been established when their ship appeared in Earth's solar system. The delegation had been peaceful, curious about human culture and eager to share knowledge. But this, a Velfani in his personal quarters at 0300 hours, was definitely not protocol. "I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be here," Marcus said carefully, keeping his voice calm. "The diplomatic quarters are on deck 7. Are you lost?" The being, Lisa, he remembered from the cultural exchange briefings, shook her head, the bioluminescent patterns flickering faster now. "Not lost. Scared." Marcus frowned. Fear wasn't an emotion the Velfani had demonstrated before. Their delegation had been remarkably composed, almost clinical in their interactions. Scared of what? Lisa stepped into his room, the door sealing behind her with another soft hiss. Her skin's luminescence dimmed as she wrapped her arms around herself, a gesture surprisingly human despite her alien anatomy. "Your dreams," she whispered. "They're so loud." The revelation hit Marcus like a cold wave. The Velfani were telepathic, not in the science fiction sense of reading thoughts, but as empathic receivers of emotional resonance. The briefings had mentioned their sensitivity to strong feelings, but no one had considered the implications for sleep cycles. "You can sense our dreams?" Marcus asked. "Not see them," Lisa explained, settling cross-legged on the floor beside his bunk. "Feel them. Your species dreams with such intensity, such vivid emotion. Most nights, the ship is filled with echoes of your unconscious minds, joy, terror, longing, rage. It's overwhelming." Marcus understood now. The human crew of 47, all dreaming simultaneously, would create a cacophony of emotions that a telepathically sensitive species couldn't escape. No wonder the Velfani delegation had seemed increasingly withdrawn during their stay. "But tonight," Lisa continued, her dark eyes meeting his, "your corner of the ship feels different. Calm. Peaceful. I haven't experienced such tranquility since leaving our homeworld." Marcus had always been a light sleeper, prone to brief, forgettable dreams. What he'd considered a minor inconvenience was apparently a refuge for someone drowning in the emotional overflow of an entire crew's subconscious. "I don't dream much," he admitted. "At least, not memorably." Lisa's bioluminescent patterns pulsed in what he was beginning to recognize as relief. "Yes. It's like standing in the eye of a hurricane. May I remain here? I promise I won't disturb your rest." Marcus considered the diplomatic implications, the breach of protocol, the potential cultural misunderstandings. Then he looked at this exhausted alien being, seeking nothing more than a quiet place to rest, and made a decision that had nothing to do with regulations and everything to do with basic compassion. "You can sleep here," he said, grabbing a spare blanket from his storage locker. "But on the floor. And we report this to Captain Rodriguez in the morning." Lisa's patterns brightened briefly, gratitude, Marcus realized, before dimming to barely visible specks as she curled up on the makeshift bed he'd arranged. As Marcus settled back into his bunk, he found himself wondering what other aspects of human existence might be invisible to their own species but overwhelming to others. The universe, it seemed, was full of bridges they hadn't even known they needed to build. Within minutes, both human and alien had found the piece that had eluded them for months.